Are you struggling to learn a new language because a lot of stinky grammar exercises are getting in the way? Or maybe you're somebody who's studied a language for years and years, and even though you've done that, you are struggling to actually communicate in that language. Hello, and welcome to Lingua Carpa. I'm Carp. I have been teaching and tutoring languages for over 13 years. I help people learn languages and have fun doing it. Well, I have fun doing it. I help them have fun doing it, but I also have fun doing it. You get the point. Today we will address the theme of grammar-centric language study or language instruction. So for you folks who are either doing it on your own or you're maybe in a class, either way, we will address both. But first, look at this square. I know what you're thinking. Carp, this isn't a geometry channel. And you'd be right. It's not. But today we're going to learn a whole new language together. The language of squares and colors. Well, maybe not the entire language, but we are going to learn some grammar of the square color language. And in just the next few minutes, you, yes, you, humble viewer, are going to become an expert in square color language grammar. Blah. So get out your notebooks, because here are the 6 grammar rules of square color language. At least the 6 we're going to learn today. Number 1, each sentence requires a blue square and a red square. That's the bare minimum we need to make a complete sentence in square color language. Rule number 2, the blue square must come before the red square. Rule number 3, if the blue square is a double square, you'll see what I mean by that in a bit, the red square must also be a double square. Number 4, you may add an orange square at the end of the sentence. You may. Number 5, you may also add a purple square, but it must directly precede the orange square. And lastly, number 6, you may not have a purple square without an orange square. Okay? That's it. Those are the 6. That's all the rules we're going to apply today. Now that we know our rules, let's do some grammar exercises to make sure we are square color grammar experts. For each of the following, fill in the blank to form a complete, correct sentence. So just to be clear, all we need to do here is adhere to our 6 rules, and that will make sure the sentences are correct. Here we go. Please feel free to pause and complete these on your own according to the rules if you'd like to challenge yourself. Otherwise, we're going to work through the solutions together now. Here we have our grammar activity. These are different sentences in square color language, and we have to use the rules we just learned to fill in the blank to correctly complete each sentence. Number 1. Blank before a red square. Well, the rules say that there must be a blue and a red square, which means that blank has to be a blue square. Number 2, there's just a blue square and then a blank. The rules say that there have to be, as a minimum, a blue square and a red square. So that's going to be a red square. All right, number 3, we have blue square and red square. Again, in the correct order, of course, as blue square must always come before the red square. Then we have another blank. And since we are allowed to have an orange square at the end of the sentence, but not allowed to have a purple square without an orange square, and that one has to be orange, of course. On number 4, we have a double square. And from rule number 3, if the blue square is a double square, the red square must also be a double square. So that's going to be a double red square. Number 5, we have a longer sentence here, but we see that there is a blue square missing. That has to be at the beginning. And we see we have a double red, which means this has to be double blue. Number 6, we again have double blue, double red. And the only one missing, well, it has to be purple, right? Because we may add a purple square, but if we do, it must directly precede the orange square according to rule number 5. On number 7, we have our blue square, red square. There is a purple, and then our blank is at the very end. Well, we know there's only one other color, so that has to be an orange square. And then the last sentence, we do have an orange at the end, but we know that the square before that cannot be a purple because we are missing our red. So we have double blue, then double red in that blank. And that wraps up our grammar exercise, and all these sentences are now grammatically correct. So now that we've done that, and we've proven we can do that, here's the kicker. You are now perfectly capable of accurately completing square color language grammar exercises, but you are completely incapable, completely unable to actually communicate in square color language. I didn't tell you the meaning behind any of those symbols that we used, any of our words in our sentences, because to complete the grammar activity, you didn't need to know that. So I could give you activities and worksheets on this grammar all day, and you'd get 100%. Great job, 4.0 GPA, woo, go you. You're a grammar expert. So one day, you finally take a trip to Square Color Land. Woo, vacation. So you take a flight there, you land, you get your luggage, you're going through the airport, you just had, I don't know, like a 12-hour flight, so you're super jet lagged and you're tired, and you look for the first cafe available in the airport to get some coffee and chug that down so you can try to participate like a normal human being in this new place that you've arrived to for this cool experience, and you could use the language to communicate, and you get to the cafe, and you can't even order. You can't understand anything anyone is saying. You probably can't even read the menu. You might be able to tell if the words are in the right order, though. But something really strange is going on beside that. Something particularly bizarre. Not a single person, since you were on the flight or since you arrived going through the airport, and even for the rest of your trip, not a single person in Square Color Land comes up to you and says, please fill out this worksheet of grammar activities for our language. Oh no. But why would they? So let's rewind a couple of years and maybe a few semesters of Square Color Language classes. And we're going to consider the class of students in Square Color Language study next to your class. The teacher in that classroom focuses on communication first. Now, tragically, the students in that class are making lots of grammar errors, but they are able to share ideas, express their needs, exchange opinions. So however imperfectly, they are able to communicate in Square Color Language. The thing is, this type of grammar-led or grammar-central language study is a scenario that plays out for a lot of people, maybe more so in the past. I must say there are a lot of educators nowadays that aren't relying on these or using them as much and have moved on to other methodologies, which is great. But there's still a lot of people living this experience, I find, especially once you hit university level. For comparison, let's look at this type of a very common Spanish grammar exercise. What you have here, similar to what we had, is a few sentences with blanks in them. In this case, you're given a word to the right of the blank. Now, the task here is to simply take the word to the right of that blank and adjust its spelling a little bit. Those familiar with this will recognize the term conjugation. We're going to conjugate that word, which is a verb. We're going to put it in the blank. Anybody who has taken any formalized Spanish study has seen this probably a zillion times. So for me to complete this activity, all I need to know is what the grammar rules say the word has to change to in order to match up with the word at the beginning of each sentence. But that's it. That's the only thing I need to know. I don't need to know what the subjects mean. I don't need to know what the verbs mean. I don't even need to look at the rest of the sentence. I'm not communicating anything. I'm not getting any new information. I just have to know the grammar rule. So obviously, I'm not practicing communication here, which means I'm not getting any better at it. Now, I know so many people who have gone through that learning experience in world language classes. And for most of the people who have had that specific type of experience, it's mainly the reason they didn't continue. These are the people who very, very often tell me, well, I'm not a language person. I tried it. It was really complicated. It was confusing. I wasn't able to say anything. I studied French for 7 years. I got a minor in it, but I still couldn't have a conversation when I got to France. These are the stories that I hear all the time. And it breaks my heart. It really does. So what it boils down to is all these people have studied how the language works without actually practicing the communication in the language, without actually practicing using that language. So as a language teacher, I personally won't send anybody down that path. Unless for some specific reason that person is crazy passionate about grammar, or they really need to know grammar for some specific job or task or assignment. Otherwise, we don't center on it. So, as we wrap up today, I have some questions for the language learners and for the language teachers out there. Language learners, I just have 2 questions for y'all. What do you want to get out of the language or languages that you are studying? And whether studying on your own or learning with a teacher or a tutor, do the learning methodologies align with your goals for your language use. Because if the things that you want out of the language and the ways you're going about practicing or learning that, if those are misaligned, maybe this is a good time to reassess and see if you can't find the things that will help you go in the direction you want to for how you want to use the language in the future. Language teachers. I have to ask you too, because I can't teach everybody. What do you want your students to be able to do with the language you share with them? And I ask that in the context especially of lower grade levels where these students may have less direction and less of a say in the things that they are studying. So do those students need to become grammar scholars or proofreaders in that new language where the grammatical accuracy of something is paramount above all other needs? Or do you want them to be able to communicate, share experiences, learn from other people and cultures, and make human connections in ways that no AI or translator will ever be able to do? I will leave you all with that. Please keep in mind, of course, that I'm not against teaching grammar entirely. Like, I still do it in small moments with my own students, but those are reserved for specific scenarios and cases where I see it's actually going to directly benefit them. Not to mention that I'm never going to deliver grammar by itself. It's always going to be in context of something relevant that we are communicating about. But for me, grammar or accuracy-based language learning is never going to be the blanket approach. As I mentioned with some specific use cases for my own students, above all, I really think that explicit grammar study is best reserved for more advanced students that already have a great command of a language, and then actually looking at the grammar using that language is way more relevant to them when they need to be very precise in their meaning or accurate in their meaning when expressing ideas or working on a project or an assignment or in a new job, whatever that might be. But I really think that all beginner and intermediate students should be focusing communication first. Language learners out there, especially if you don't have a tutor or teacher and it's just you doing your thing at home, please leave me any questions or comments below. I would be happy to answer them and help guide you in the right direction. Or if you're just curious about something, share your thoughts. I love to hear it. If you are feeling a bit lost and looking for some direction in your own language study, please check out the other videos on my channel. I already have several about that, about how to go about tackling a language sort of from the beginning, what you ought to maybe spend your time on, at least in my professional opinion, things like that. So check them out. If you are a big nerd like me, if you are a big nerd like me, and you want to deep dive more into the idea, sort of the argument that I talked about today, but much more into the communicative learning or language teaching side of things, I would highly, highly recommend the book While We're on the Topic by Bill Van Patten. It's an excellent book. Learners, teachers alike, anybody who really wants to get in the weeds of language acquisition, especially in the context of a classroom, that book is awesome. If you are still watching, thank you so much for making it to the end. If you could, please leave a like and make sure you're subscribed to support the channel. See you next time.